Welcome to another classic WoW profession gold making guide. Today we are covering Herbalism, potentially the best profession to have when it comes to gold making. In this guide I will talk about different ways to make gold, but keep in mind every herb will sell. So I'm not going to cover every single herb in Azeroth. I'm strictly going to restrict myself to talking about the most valuable and maybe even most underpopulated herbs that are still worth farming for because it has less competition and a decent gold making potential. So I'm going to go through the different herbs you can farm for, where you can farm them and what they are used for. I will now list 10 different herbs that are really good to farm and used in various crafts of items and flasks all throughout Azeroth, and will most likely be on high demand all throughout Classic. The order of the herbs listed is not in any specific order, since the prices of herbs will vary depending on your server's economy, supply and demand. With that being said, here are some great herbs to farm. Number 1 is King's Blood. This is probably the most expensive early herb you will find, simply because of its rarity and its different uses. The herb grows in zones like the Barrens, Ashenvale, Duskwood, Dustwallow Marsh, Arathi Highlands and more. The reason this herb actually sells pretty well is because it's used in different unique crafts like Elixir of Firepower, Shadow Protection Potion and most notably, Rage Potions for warriors. It's also used to craft Herbalist's gloves as well as the Herbalism glove enchant. Number 2 is Strangle Kelp, a herb most commonly found in Stranglethorn Vale, Wetlands, Tanaris, and other zones in the same level range as those. It is used in crafting Elixir of Agility, Elixir of Defense, Free Action Potion, and Nature Protection Potion. Free Action Potion is probably going to be the main reason this herb will sell well in the first phase of Classic and maybe even all throughout Classic. Nature Protection Potions are another thing that will be wanted by players later as more dungeons and raids unlock. Number 3 is Wild Steel Bloom, gathered from zones like Stonetalon Mountains, Arathi Highlands, and Stranglethorn Vale. This is a herb most used for its defense potions, as well as the lesser agility potions used by rogues and hunters in the level 19 twink bracket. This herb is also used in the lesser invisibility potion, which will most likely be used by raiders and dungeoneers to min-max either their raid or dungeon runs. Number 4 is Sungrass. You can find this herb in zones like Eastern Plaguelands, Thousand Needles, Badlands, Fellwood, and a couple others. This herb is used in 4 big crafts that will make it a pretty expensive herb all throughout vanilla. You have the Elixir of Giants, the Elixir of Greater Agility, the Elixir of Superior Defense, and you have the Invisibility Potion. Number 5 is the Mountain Silver Sage, a herb found in Winterspring and Angora Crater, plus a few other zones. This herb is used in crafts like Elixir of the Mongoose, Flask of Supreme Power, and Living Action Potion, all of which are used throughout Classic, and will make the Mountain Silver Sage a somewhat sought after herb. Next up is Dreamfoil. This is usually farmed in Blasted Lands, Silithus, Fellwood, and Angora Crater. This is a herb used in so many potions, flasks and elixirs that has to do with magic. Both protection potions and elixirs that enhance your own power. For example, it's used to create the Fire Protection Potion, Arcane Protection Potions, also Frost, Shadow, Holy and Nature Protection Potions. It's also used in the Flask of Distilled Wisdom and Flask of Supreme Power, where it actually requires 30 Dreamfoils to create one flask. So you can see why there will be a massive demand for tons of these herbs. Also, when you see all the spell type protection potions, you may think about the Fire Protection Potion first of all, because of Molten Core, and that is totally right. That's another reason why this herb will be on high demand. But you also have World PvP and Battlegrounds. Really good PvPers will want to have a stack or two of at least Frost and Shadow, maybe even Nature Protection Potions with them in their bags, just in case they get into a 1 vs 1 situation against someone using those spells, and that's another reason why this herb will sell very well. Number 7 is Grum's Blood. Grum's Blood can be farmed in Fellwood, Blasted Lands and Desolus, among other zones. There are 3 big reasons why this herb will be a high demand on the market, and I will list them from least impactful to most impactful. First off, you have the Mighty Rage Potions that require 3 Grum's Blood each to craft. This is a very good item used by some warriors, but that's just it. It's only used by warriors. Next up is the Elixir of Giants. This one only requires 1 grum's blood, but can be used by anyone who uses strength, so basically warriors and paladins. The next and the biggest reason this will be on high demand, and possibly be quite costly, is because you need 30 grum's blood to craft 1 Flask of the Titans. Flask of the Titans is a flask that increases your health by 1200, which is a lot of health points back in vanilla. Now you may think this only applies to tanks and only tanks use this since it increases your health, but no, this was used by pretty much anyone who could afford it. But that's just it, it's a costly flask. Number 8 is Fade Leaf. This can be found in Feraless, Dustwallow Marsh, Western Plaguelands, and more. Additionally, these can drop from a number of mobs in the Lasher and Trent genre. So technically, you don't have to be a herbalist to farm these. When it comes to usefulness, Fade Leaf is used in crafts like Shadow Oil and invisibility potions. Next up we have the Swift Thistle. This is a herb highly sought after by rogues because it is used to craft Thistle Tea, which restores energy for rogues. Swift Thistle is used for movement speed and agility stuff, like Elixir of Agility, Swiftness Potion, and Swim Speed Potion. When farming this, it's important to note that Swift Thistle does not appear on its own, rather you get it while gathering Mage Royale or Briarthorn plants. This can be farmed in zones like Hillspread Foothills, Duskwood, Ashara, Darkshore, the Parents, and so on. Number 10 is Black Lotus. This is by far the most expensive herb on the market, and it's also the rarest. This herb is used in most high-end flask crafts like Flask of the Titans, Flask of Supreme Power, and Flask of Distilled Wisdom. It's also used in item crafts and enchants. You can gather this flower in zones like Silithus, Blasted Lands, Winterspring, and Eastern Plaguelands. Exactly how rare this item turns out to be in Classic depends on 2 things. First off, in vanilla, the respawn timer on this herb was around 2 hours. The question is, will they keep this respawn timer or make it shorter? Another thing to factor in is that in the beginning they said they would do sharding to make the initial starting phase easier. How long will this sharding or now confirmed layering work? If a lot of people can get to level 50 plus zones and find this herb before sharding or layering goes away, that could ruin the early economy, but shouldn't affect it too much later on. Another thing here is that power leveling could actually net you a lot of gold. Let's say you get level 50 while everyone else is still level 40, and you manage to level up your Herbalism skill. Or let's say some people level faster than you but don't have the Herbalism skill to pick up these herbs. This will give you uncontested Black Lotus spawns, and you could potentially control an entire zone's spawn points, if you're lucky and if you level fast enough and keep your Herbalism skill up to date while leveling. That could have been a really good tactic to use when Classic launched, and some people might have taken advantage of this to get themselves many Black Lotus and sell them later on, which could affect the economy, but still, it's a really good herb to farm because you need them for so much endgame stuff. Number 11 is Bloodvine. This is a herb you can collect while gathering herbs in Sul'Gurub, but in order to receive this herb, you first need an item called Blood Scythe, which also drops in Sul'Gurub. This could potentially be a good moneymaker once Sul'Gurub comes out, and it's used in some pretty good crafts which will be shown in the picture on the screen right now. I added this as the last one because Sul'Gurub is most likely not going to be available on Classic launch, thus this farm will not even be in the game in the first phase of Classic, but it will be there later on. So with all this said, I guess I pretty much ended up listing almost every herb in Classic after all. However, all of these can be farmed for, and they can actually net you some pretty decent gold. And if you do end up picking up Herbalism, you now know which herbs are worth something, and you also know why they are worth something. Also, you know which herbs to keep for personal use, like if you're a rogue and you have Herbalism, you want to keep as many Swift Thistles as possible so you can make that Thistle Tea, and you also want to keep Mountain Silver Sage for Elixir of the Mongoose. Now you might think that is the end of the video, but it is not. I also want to share with you my 3 favorite zones for farming herbs, which herbs you can farm there, and also show you the route that I usually run around when I farm herbs in these zones. I will make a more detailed Herbalism farming spots video later on, where I will discuss a lot more zones and herbs and show way more routes, but I felt like since this is a gold making with Herbalism video, I should at least show you some farms you can do. So let's start with my personal favorite, which is Ashara. Number 1. Ashara. Herbs you can find in Ashara are Dreamfoil, Golden Sansam, Goldthorn, Khadgar's Whisker, Mountain Silver Sage, Purple Lotus, and Sungrass. Ashara is a really nice place to farm. You can easily pick up herbs without aggroing mobs, and as long as you stay away from the satyr camps, there is a very low possibility of meeting hostile players of the opposite faction. It's also a nice place to farm herbs because there are no Black Lotus there, and a lot of herbalists will naturally go to zones with Black Lotus spawns, so they can check those spawn locations while farming as well, meaning there will be way fewer herbalists in Ashara, giving you the opportunity to find more herbs. Here you can see my usual route in Ashara. The red one is the main route, the blue one is an optional route that you can incorporate into the main one. The red one has more herbs in it, but the blue one is nice to spice it up a bit, plus in case you need to wait for node respawns you can use the blue one. Number 2 is Fellwood. Herbs you can find in Fellwood are Plague Bloom, Grom's Blood, Dreamfoil, Golden Sansam, Arthas's Tears, Sungrass, and Mountain Silver Sage. Fellwood is also a really nice place to farm herbs because of the same reason as Ashara. There are no Black Lotus spawns here, so there will be less herbalists there. A big drawback with Fellwood is that it's an extremely popular leveling zone in the late 40s to early 50s, and at this point in Classic people might have chosen to skill up professions while leveling, meaning people who level there might pick up some herbs as well, ruining your farm a little bit, but it's still a very good farm. There are also tons of Grom's Blood, Dreamfoil, and Plague Bloom in this zone, which are some of the most profitable herbs except for Black Lotus. Here you can see my route in Fellwood. The red one is the main one, the blue one is optional. Number 3 is Western Plaguelands. Herbs you can find in Western Plaguelands are Plague Bloom, Dreamfoil, Arthas's Tears, and Sungrass. Western Plaguelands is really nice because you can see the entire route is very small, and there are tons of condensed herbs, meaning there are way more herbs in a small space. One drawback is that many of the Arthas's Tears spawns inside the acre fields, guarded by zombies and skeletons, and you might have to decide whether to spend time killing them, crowd control them, or skip the herb. If you choose to farm here, you might also need to incorporate it into a different farm as well, so either farm mobs or go to Eastern Plaguelands and farm herbs there, since this is a very fast and very small route, and the herbs will not respawn by the time you reach full circle. There are certainly farms out there that will net you more gold per hour, or at least more steady gold per hour, but these farms can be good on occasion, and also it offers a different way to farm gold than to just mindlessly grind mobs. These 3 zones are also kind of outside everything that's happening. There's no reason for there to be mass world PvP going on, or any reason to meet entire groups of the opposite factions in these zones. The only relevant max level content in any of these zones is Scholomance in the Western Plaguelands, but even that is outside of this herb farming route. So in theory you should be able to farm herbs in peace, and because these zones are far away from most major zones and major cities, there will also be less people farming there because of travel time. My entire goal for this video was to provide you with different farming spots for Herbalism, without going too much into the alchemy or cooking portion of the gold making, since I will have specific videos on how to make gold with alchemy and cooking as well, so I will cover those topics in those videos. I already have one about alchemy, so feel free to check that one out if you're more interested in how to convert the herbs into flasks and potions. And with all this being said, I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you found it useful. If you liked the video, please take the time to slap a like on it, and if you want to interact with me outside of YouTube, I will leave my Discord link in the description. Feel free to ask me anything you want there. But that's it for now, I'll see you next time.